Issei Hyoudou is one of the biggest perverts along with his two friends, Matsuda and Motohama, and attends a previously all-girl school. Having his usual school day, Issei goes to peek at the girls of the kendo club along with Matsuda and Motohama, who fled after realizing that the girls noticed them, leaving Issei to the mercy of the girls. After getting beaten up by the kendo club girls for peeking, Issei meets a crimson-haired girl, Rias Gremory, in the old school building, falling in love at first sight. Later on his way home, Issei receives a confession from a girl named Yuma Amano. During their first date, Yuma suddenly kills Issei at the end of the date, revealing her black wings to Issei much to the latter's surprise before creating a sphere of light and piercing his body. Moments before his death, Issei thought of Rias and ends up, unknowingly, summoning her. Issei wakes up the next day in his room, and was surprised to find that none of his friends remember Yuma. He also realizes that he has gained the ability to see in the dark and developed increased strength at night. While on his way home from his friend's house, Issei went to the park where he last met Yuma, meeting another fallen angel, Donasek, who also attempts to kill Issei. Donasek successfully injures Issei, but before he can deliver the finishing blow, Issei is rescued by three girls, one of them being Rias. The next morning, Issei discovers both Rias and himself naked in his bed. Rias wakes up smiling and she explains to him that she is a devil, and she is his master as he was reincarnated by her. Issei wakes up surprised to find a naked Rias sleeping beside him. While Rias says that the situation is quite alright, Issei, who still could not fathom his good luck, is surprised, embarrassed and confused, all at the same time, at this unexpected good turn of events. However, the situation worsens when his mother walks into his room and sees him together with a naked Rias, causing a chaos to ensue early in the morning. After sorting out the situation with Issei's parents with a bit of demonic energy, Rias explains that she is a devil, and has reincarnated him as a servant devil underneath her. After Issei's usual class ends, Issei is visited by Yudo Kiba, another fellow second-year student, who has come to escort Issei to the occult research club. In the club room, Issei meets two other members of the club, Akino Himajima and Kaneko Tuju, the two girls that helped Rias earlier to rescue Issei. Reintroducing herself, Rias explains to Issei about the great war between the three factions comprised of angels, fallen angels, and devils. She also reveals that Yuma, who he once dated before, was a fallen angel that was sent to kill him, as she reintroduces Issei to both her clan alongside her peerage members. After successfully finishing the distribution of pamphlets that were given to him by Rias, Issei is given a chance to visit Kaneko's client as the client's request was overlapping with her schedule. However, while on his way back home after doing business with the client, Issei is confronted by another fallen angel, Kala Warner, but was able to fend her off after he gains the ability to harness the power his sacred gear. The episode ends with Issei bumping into a nun named Asia Argento, knocking her over, on his way to school the next day. Issei helps the nun, Asia Argento, to her feet. After she admits that she is lost, Issei agrees to escort her back to the church. On the way, after encountering a boy crying due to a bruised knee, Asia displays a healing ability, which upon witnessing causes Issei to have a queasy feeling. This squeamish feeling that Issei feels increases as they finally get to the proximity of the church to the extent that it causes Issei to refrain from entering the church or lead Asia any further. Later on, after questioning Rias about the strange feeling he experienced while escorting the girl to the church, Rias tells Issei that the church is an enemy's base, and being friends with Asia is the same as fraternizing with the enemy. She also advises him to have nothing to do with her for his own sake. Later on, Rias and the group take Issei with them to kill a stray devil, a devil who has killed its own master. Rias uses the battle to explain each person's chess rank and ability to Issei. Later on, another mission to get a contract is taken up by Issei, who arrives at a house. Upon entering, after no one answered the door, Issei is confronted by a bloody corpse which is the work of an insane exorcist named Fried Selzen that serves the fallen angels, who reveals his presence. Fried proudly admits to killing the man, explaining that his victim was in league with the devils. He identifies Issei as another devil and begins to attack him. Initially, Fried has the upper hand when he shoots Issei in the leg with a gun and slashes him with a light sword. Eventually, Asia comes into the room, instantly startled by and screaming at the sight of the bloody body. Fried comments on why Asia left her job of maintaining the barrier, which was used to mask his presence, wondering if this is the first time Asia's seen a dead body. and then proceeds to reveal that Issei is a devil. Fried tries to attack Issei again, but Asia intervenes by rushing in front of the paralyzed Issei to protect him. Fried easily shoves Asia from her place and restrains her against a wall, trying to rape her in front of Issei. This consequently causes Issei to immediately ignore his pain and punch Fried in his face. Fried then turns his full attention to Issei, but just as he is about to be finished off, the other members of the occult research club arrive, assisting Issei in his dilemma. Issei and his companions escape quickly after, leaving Fried alive as his master began approaching in a blinding light. Before they escape, Issei desperately wants to bring the injured Asia with them, but finds out he cannot since the transportation circle only works for people that are a part of the Gremory clan. The episode ends with Issei struggling to try and rescue Asia, but being too weak to escape from Kaniko's grip. Recovering from the previous battle, Issei is focused on getting stronger to rescue Asia, despite Rias' repeated attempts, berating him for attempting to get involved in the business of the opposing side. Issei later heads to the park to practice chin-ups trying to get stronger, but encounters Asia, ending up going on a date with her. Towards the end of the date, Rainier, the fallen angel who had earlier disguised herself as Yuma in the first episode, appears and starts a fight with Issei, easily defeating him due to his inexperience. Seeing Issei get injured while trying to protect her, Asia agrees to go with Rainier in return for Issei to be spared, a term that Rainier agrees to. After Asia is taken away by Rainier, Issei returns to the clubroom in order to try and get help indirectly. This time, however, to his surprise, Rias helps him, explaining to him that as a pawn, he can rank up to any other piece, except for king. Later on, Yuto and Kaniko go with him to the church, where Asia is held hostage in order to save her, while Rias and Aquino deal with the trio of fallen angels, Donasek, Calawarner, and Middlet, who were tasked with guarding the church. Fried appears to stop Issei and his group, but ends up defeated by Kaniko and Issei, especially after the latter ranks up to be a rook. After Fried escapes, Issei and his group head to the basement, witnessing the final moments of Rainier stealing Asia's sacred gear, killing her in the process. Rainier extracts Asia's sacred gear and puts it into herself. As this occurs, Issei, Kiba and Kaniko fight through the group of rogue exorcists, with Issei managing to reach Asia's place, managing to catch her, as Rainier releases her from the cross. He then successfully carries her upstairs to the main part of the church, while Kiba and Kaniko hold off the priests. Having her sacred gear extracted, Asia's life starts to fade away despite Issei begging her to live, promising to be with her all the time as her friend. At her final moments, Asia thanks Issei for being her first friend, which greatly saddens him. Rainier then shows up, revealing that she can now heal the injury Kiba inflicted on her way up, demonstrating that she's now capable of harnessing the power of Asia's sacred gear, Twilight Healing. Disgusted, partially, by Rainier's actions and how she made fun of Asia's life, Issei challenges her to a fight in a bout of rage. Meanwhile, outside the church, Rias and Aquino continues their fight against the fallen angel trio, until Rias disposes of them after being greatly angered when her servant is insulted. Inside the church, Issei attempts to attack Rainier, but to no avail, as the stronger fallen angel not only maintains an upper hand in their fight, but also impales him in both of his thighs with light spears. Issei, remembering Rias' advice, begs for the power to beat Rainier, causing his sacred gear to activate for the first time, increasing his powers beyond Rainier's, thus allowing Issei to punch Rainier in the face and defeat the fallen angel in one blow. After the battle, Rias and the others appear to congratulate Issei on his first victory. As Kaniko drags the defeated fallen angel back into the building, Rias notices the change in Issei's sacred gear, realizing its true identity. Rias then explains to Rainier that Issei's sacred gear is not the twice critical as she initially surmised, but rather the boosted gear, one of the 13 Longinus that has the spirit of the Red Dragon Emperor sealed within it. Realizing the danger she's in, Rainier promptly and shamelessly changes back into Yuma, desperately begging for Issei to spare her life. However, Issei, seeing through her ploy, bottles up his true feelings, and gets Rias to kill her off instead. Confirming her death, Issei is gloomy upon at the death of his supposed first girlfriend. However, when Rias decides to make Asia into her servant, returning Asia's sacred gear to her after bringing back the former sister to life as a devil using the bishop piece from her evil pieces set, Issei happily welcomes Asia back. The next day, as Issei arrives at a cult research club, he questions Rias on the possibility of there being 7 more pawns besides him, to which Rias reveals that she has used all her pawn pieces on him, while she revived him. Rias then tells Issei to become the ultimate pawn, kissing him on the forehead before stopping as Asia appears in the Occult Research Club, having transferred to the Kuo Academy, as they celebrate to welcome the newest member of the club. Meanwhile, a mysterious person is shown to be looking at the scene through a red bird outside the window of the Occult Research Club. New living arrangements have been made for Asia in the clubroom, who has been living with the Occult Research Club for some time now. Meanwhile, Rias decides to have Issei undergo basic training to improve his stamina and physical fitness. After finishing his training, Issei is surprised to learn that Asia has decided to move to the Hyoudou residence in order to just stay together with him. The next day, Asia transfers to Issei's class 2 and manages to get along with her new classmates. After finishing the distribution of the pamphlets, Issei decides to try and get his own client, meeting Miltan, a bulky muscular man whose greatest wish is to be a magic girl. During his PE class, Issei goes to the sick room, getting frustrated on the fact that he failed to get a contract again. He then wakes up surprised upon finding a naked Rias sleeping beside him. After waking up, Rias dresses up and decides to accompany Issei to his next client in order to make sure that he'll get a contract done this time. The request that Issei receives involves meeting a foreigner girl named Susan that always wears oyoroi due to her typical love for the Japanese culture, especially the samurais and their Bushido code. Susan then reveals that her request for the devils is to help her in taking her notes back from the university and assist in her love confession. Using Issei's advice of writing a love letter, Susan manages to properly convey her feelings, resulting in her love interest, Hori, a man wearing a medieval knight's armor, and her becoming a couple successfully. Back at the Occult Research Club, as a victory celebration for his first contract, both Issei and Rias share an intimate moment,